we have the last learning objective, which is operating leverage, and it's defined as the profit contribution divided by the income before taxes. How much of the pre-tax comes from, or what percent of pre-tax is the profit contribution? When we're done with this, we'll say, well, if it has a high number, then sales increases would have big opportunities for big gains. However, if we had a sales decrease, we have a high risk of loss. If it's low leverage, then the opposite is true. Then the sales increase, we're not going to get a lot of profit increase, we get some. But if we lose some sales, it's not going to hurt us as much. So it just shows leverage being, again, the point where we can get additional profits. And if we want to really go for it, we want high operating leverage. So let's do this in an example. We're going to switch examples now to tacos, I guess. Taco King and Mexiland, and they're two competitors, and they have the same sales revenue and pre-tax profit. And the question is, if sales drop by 20, who suffers more? So as you might guess, there's an Excel sheet. So I put the formula here also, profit contribution divided by income before taxes. So let's start with Taco King. And over here, we'll put Mexiland, and we'll put the profit contribution and the income before tax. We'll just put them here so we have them. Profit contribution, 18. Income before tax is 10,000. And for Mexiland, the profit contribution is 32. Pre-tax profit is 10,000. And so now we could do the degree of operating leverage equals profit contribution divided by pre-tax. So which one's bigger? Mexiland, right? Mexiland is 3.2 and Taco King is 1.8. The more affected by change in sales will be Mexiland. So let's now go to what happens if it goes 20% and it drops. So it's negative. Profit change for Taco King equals the DOL times the percent change. In this case, that equals, the DOL is 1.8 and the percent change is a negative 0.2. So plus that times that, negative 36%. All right, so that is Taco King. Now what happens with Mexiland? And now it's negative 64. The answer is that Taco King, since it has lower degree of operating leverage, will have a negative hit of negative 36%. However, for Mexiland, since it had a high degree of operating leverage, the negative 20% translates to a negative 64% in profits. So that is how we utilize the estimation or the relationship for degree of operating leverage. All right, so summarizing Mod 15, we looked at the traditional CVP model and noticed that it's useful for different scenarios for for-profit businesses as well as not-for-profit businesses. Secondly, we looked at the functional versus contribution income approach, and we did that partly to show at the statement level is more useful, like that was the doubling of revenue example, but also it tears apart the cost structure so we know which costs are variable and which costs are fixed. And we need that for LO3, which is computing break-even and other profit scenarios for a given company with a single product. LO4 is what happens if we relax that constraint and have multiple products. How can we, with one simple assumption, that being the sales mix, be able to compute the break-even point for the blended unit, which then allows us to unblend it back to the component of the multiple products. And finally, we looked at degree of operating leverage and how it's useful, if we know it, to quickly estimate the effect of a change in sales on the change in profits. So this is module 15, and we'll break here and we'll do a separate one for module 16.